Hey everybody, I guess you can tell I'm kayaking. My daughter Hadley's in the front and she's filming me right now.
Hello.
And we're about to go under a bridge, which is Pine Grove, our road. So she will hit her head unless she manages to duck in about 1, 2, 3 seconds. We're moving, this is our last check-in with civilization here before we head down. Whoops. So now I've got her paddle too.
Multitasking.
Yeah, I guess I'll just do it like this. So I apologize, this was never meant to be a class about Thoreau, but I've been thinking about it a ton in the last 2 days. As I said the other day, he's the original social distancer, famous for going to his cabin at Walden and moving away from the world. But the weird thing about that is he confronted the world there. The cabin, which was his isolated place away from people, was also a station on the Underground Railroad, and he helped escaped slaves get north. In the same way, by getting really into his own life and his own place, he ended up affecting places all over the world. If you ever played an earlier version of Trivial Pursuit, you'd see that Gandhi and Martin Luther King both point to Thoreau as one of their main inspirations and influences. A lot of that comes from an essay called Civil Disobedience. Civil disobedience sprung from a night Thoreau spent in jail. He refused to pay his taxes. The government was at war, Mexican-American war, and he objected to that. He objected to slavery, so he didn't pay his taxes. His buddy, who was the tax collector, said, "Henry, if you don't do this, you're going to spend the night in jail." And he did, and when Ralph Waldo Emerson, famous essayist, Thoreau's mentor, came to see him, he said, "Henry, what are you doing in there?" And Thoreau said, "Ralph, what are you doing out there?" So he was one of the first people who said, if these things conflict with your ideas, you fight for them, no matter what the consequences are. That is, no matter whether it hurts you.
I'll take that.
Yeah, it's hard to paddle with 2 paddles. No matter what happens to you, he's the inspiration for a lot of modern environmental fighters who are proud of getting arrested in these climate change rallies and marches. So it springs from this place, and it's kind of interesting that a nature writer, probably our most famous nature writer, was the inspiration for political activism, that somebody famous for getting away also was all about getting out into the world. The other thing he's famous for is the line, simplify, simplify, simplify. Simplicity for him was the whole idea. To rather than want more and crave more, to be happy with less. He was an anti-consumer, and he was quite blatant about it. One time he said, "It is best to avoid the beginnings of evil." It's kind of a big moral line, like from a preacher, but the funny thing is what he was referring to. Someone had suggested he get a doormat for his little cabin, 8x12 cabin, and maybe it wasn't 8x12. Somebody can fact check that. I don't want to be like Trump. Maybe 12x10. Anyway, you can look it up, Google it. But he objected to getting a doormat because he didn't want to clutter and unsimplify things. So the other thing about him is that people don't realize is he was kind of funny. He said of people who work at jobs where they have to sit behind a desk all day, that it's a good thing that it's, I'll paraphrase, that it's fortunate that they hadn't committed suicide long ago. So we've got this guy who withdraws from society, social distances, who simplifies his life, who doesn't believe, whose economic, in fact his first chapter is called Economy, whose economic philosophy is, what if we could be happy with less instead of always craving more? I think of my professor, Reg Sonner in Colorado, who said, we humans are an elsewhere. we're always hungry for someplace other than where we are at the moment. And Thoreau's whole thing was, let's find a way to, I don't want to say be in the now, it sounds too new agey, but to experience and appreciate where we are without craving something other than what we have. A big way he did that is he realized that the natural world provided endless stimulus, and that the prejudice of human beings of looking at the world only through human eyes, which is called anthropocentrism, is, well, you know, again, Google, being anthropocentric was a prejudice akin to thinking one race is superior to the other. We're basically saying, hey, Homo sapiens are superior to every other being on Earth, and we're what counts. The contrary philosophy is biocentrism. Being biocentric means the ability to see beyond the human, beyond the small sliver of consciousness that is us, human beings, see that there's a large, large world out there. When we don't do that, we wear blinders, wind picking up, and we don't see all of life. Finally, he believed in contact. This is his famous line he said when he climbed out Mount Katahdin in Maine. Katahdin. I better watch it because Bill Rohrback could watch this and call me for mispronouncing his mountain, or the mountain. It's not his mountain. That's very anthropocentric. So when he got near the top, he felt overwhelmed by awe in the old-fashioned sense, by nature in its rawness being too much. But he also made his famous cry, contact. He used a rare exclamation point. Well, not that rare, there's some involved. And he was talking about the way we physically experience the natural world. The feel of it, the touch of it, the smell of it, the thing other than ourselves, the thing itself, what gets us out of us. And it's a rallying cry that still matters today. And now I'm going to shut up and experience some contact.